listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Glad that you can be here with us live on the radio, CKLU 96.7 FM. Also, we're streaming on CKLU.ca. You just click on the Radio Player Canada app logo. You can stream us anytime. You could also download that same Radio Player Canada app and take us with you anytime. Listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. Also, all of the other great programming that comes on CKLU, your basically community radio station. It's been around since 1984. Started in a little trailer up at the Ramsey Lake Laurentian University campus, and now is located in the MacEwan School of Architecture building, the old Telegraph building, which is now a part of that very historic building. That's where the news studio is located. We're happy to be with you here today. We're also streaming on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube Live at youtube.com/Sudbury News. Grateful for the YouTube and Facebook moderators, and we're thankful for the platforms which allows us to be able to have a show like this. This is your show on your station, so make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, and mainly comment. And it is Friday. We got a really great show for you today. It is, mind-blowing. So some of the things we'll be talking about today is a little bit of a follow-up on the Chinese interference in our elections. So that's kind of important, no? Also, a breaking story, you probably already heard of it, happened midday yesterday. Dominic Giroux, CEO of Health Sciences North, former CEO or president of Laurentian University, is leaving our city. He's accepted a new position for top dog at a French teaching hospital in Ottawa. We'll have more on that and much more. The mayor has made good on his promise to decrease his salary. We also talked about they're slashing the budget or the cost of the plans for the new $100 million library. So it seems like all the things we've been talking about, I don't know, someone's listening or something. It's strange. I don't understand. But anyways, I'd like to give a shout out to Manik. Good morning. Thanks for being with us today. Good morning, Vin. Great to see you on. Thank you very much. And thanks for messaging us yesterday, talking about keep the messages coming so that way we can have as much of a conversation as we can on the show. And also Judy, good morning. Thanks for being with us. And what I was talking about with Vin was, if you ever have anything you want to reach out to us about, all you have to do is email us at sudburynews@gmail.com, or you just message us on Facebook. It's fine. We'll get the message either way. We had a really great conversation yesterday, last show with Billy. And anyways, so sometimes it's not the easiest platform to have a discussion when it's just text, right? So you're trying to get your message across and it just feels, and you have me interpreting it, which doesn't help sometimes on the fly. And with my eyesight, it doesn't help either. Anyways, I digress. Let's get on to the headlines because there's lots to talk about today. And we'll start with some weather, a little bit of sports, maybe gas prices. We'll be back with the headlines and your comments and a discussion about the things that are important to us in our community right after this. And I just noticed, I think it feels like I'm yelling this morning. And I think of my wife oftentimes. She says, lower your voice. Because when I get excited or excitable, when I'm excited, my voice seems to just ramp up. I don't know why. So I am definitely excited for today's show. Not excited about the cold weather, however. Minus 23 feels like minus 33. If you've been outside, hopefully your car was able to start. If you don't have a warm garage or you're able to plug it in last night. But today it'll be partly cloudy, becoming sunny this morning, which it already is where I'm at. Wind will be north 20 kilometers, becoming light this morning. High of minus 12 today. Wind chill minus 36 this morning and minus 15 this afternoon. Tonight, clear, becoming partly cloudy. After midnight, wind up to 15 kilometers, low of minus 21. And the wind chill near minus 26. I think we're just going to get a repeat of last night's cold weather. And then tomorrow morning. And then Saturday, flurries ending in the morning. So we're getting flurries. Cloudy with a 60% chance of flurries. Amount of 2 to 4 centimeters. Wind south, coming from the south, 20 kilometers in the morning. High of minus 6. Wind chill minus 25 in the morning. And then minus 13 in the afternoon. So then Sunday, getting a little warmer, towards the afternoon on Saturday, and then into Sunday, 40% chance of flurries, high of minus 3. Monday, 40% chance of flurries, high of minus 5. Tuesday, 60% chance of flurries, high of minus 2. And then they're calling for a little bit of clearing with mix of sun and cloud. Wednesday, Thursday, high of minus 2, minus 3, respectively. And then your satellite view over northern Ontario. For some reason, the dates go back and forth between the 24th and 23rd, 24th, 23rd. So anyways, what it is right now, you have the clearing over us right now, and then you see a system moving in again from the west, which will bring some of that snow for the next few days. So enjoy the sun while we got it, but it's definitely a cold one. And with that, I wanted to say to Claire, good morning, and we'll be back with a little bit of sports after this. All right, Sudbury Sports brought to you by SudburySports.com. Randy Pascal, he is that Sudbury Sports guy, and SudburySports.com is his website for all things Sudbury Sports. Visit SudburySports.com, and I say that kind of just rehearsed or whatever every day, but Randy Pascal is, he's the new historian of the Sudbury Wolves, just took over that position. He does a million things related to sports in this community. He's been around forever, it seems. And anyone who's been involved in amateur sports in the city or has kids that have been involved in sports knows Randy, knows he covers sports like no one's business. Anyways, so you can visit SudburySports.com and you'll see sports from high school, from all amateur sports. He covers everything. On this show, we pretty much keep it to the Wolves, the Five, Spartans, things like that, just because of time. And we think by starting with that, making sure butts are in seats at these games, bringing the community together, from that core, it then goes out from there. So that's where we're at in terms, if you're wondering why we're not covering more sports, and we will in the future. And as we have, and we started as a sports talk radio show, and we've had Randy on, and he was part of it. He did his podcast. It was Fridays and Mondays. Had him on live on Friday, and then he had his recorded podcast on Monday. But anyways, Wolves are on the road, so they're not in town this weekend. Tonight, they're in Niagara facing the Ice Dogs. Crucial road trip. If they have any hopes of making the playoffs whatsoever, they're going to have to pull out some wins. So Niagara tonight, Erie tomorrow, and then Hamilton on Sunday. For some reason, the Wolves have these treacherous road trips, back-to-backs. They're going to be tired. They're going to have to find a way to win. But anyways, so Niagara Erie, Hamilton. You can catch each and every one of those games right here on CKLU 96.7 FM. So stay tuned for that. David Bowen will have the call in those games, son of the legendary Joe Bowen, who is from town here, Coniston. Went on to also be the broadcaster of the Sudbury Wolves early on. Did a couple other things, and then is now the voice of the Leafs, I believe, on the Fan 590 on the radio. I think he's better than any other commentators calling the game these days, and he really should be on television as well. But it's the way the industry is. Joe Bowen. So David Bowen's son, he'll has the call on these road games for the Sudbury Wolves this weekend on CKLU. Now, also the Sudbury Five are in action, and instead of me telling you all about it, just listen to this. I want to make sure the volume's up first. Here you go.
Five fans, the Kings of the Underground are back at it for a rematch with the Kitchener-Waterloo Titans this Saturday night. Tip-off is scheduled for 7 p.m. and the game is proudly sponsored by Rough Diamond, who'll be at the arena with prizes and giveaways for fans. Saturday's game is the Fives Indigenous Celebration Night. The Ontario Native Basketball Invitational Tournament will be held ahead of the game from 12 to 3 p.m. to give Indigenous youth a chance to play on a professional basketball court. Fans are encouraged to show up to the game early to celebrate Indigenous heritage and culture. The Five will have a limited number of t-shirts with a special Indigenous-themed logo for sale during the game at the main merch shop, as well as following the game at Greater Sports in the new Sudbury Centre. A portion of proceeds will be donated back to ONBI in support of Indigenous youth and sport. Tickets for Saturday's game are on sale now at greatersudbury.ca/tickets, so get yours and back the boys.
There you go. So you heard it from the horse's mouth there. And get out and support the Sudbury Five and just have a great night out. That's all you have to do. Just get out and have a great night. Support the Sudbury Five. Bring your family. Tickets are cheap. Popcorn's great. Even the game is fun to watch. Just the atmosphere is awesome. So, all right, we'll be back with headlines, maybe some gas prices right after this. All right, Sudbury Gas Prices brought to you by GasBuddy.com/Sudbury for everything you need in terms of finding gas prices. That's where you go. So Costco back on top again, or back on the bottom because they got the lowest price, however you want to look at it. $144.9 Costco currently. And then the next cheapest gas stations are Chelmsford, which had the cheapest gas yesterday, even cheaper than Costco. So Chelmsford, usually the place to go. It's like our mini Sturgeon Falls in the Sudbury area where gas prices are usually low. If you didn't know that, you know it now. So Chelmsford, all their gas prices are pretty much $145 and change. And then the lowest you're going to get anything after that is pretty much $147.5 or $148 around town. So those are your gas prices brought to you by GasBuddy.com/Sudbury. We'll be right back with some headlines, your comments, and more right after this. All right, there's too much to talk about today. And first of all, I would just want to get to all of you that are chiming in. Shane, good morning. Happy Friday. Yes, it is. It's great to be Friday if you're privileged enough, I guess, or if you have a job where you're working Monday to Friday and you got your weekends off. Fridays are a thing. There's no doubt about it. And good morning, David. Stay safe for sure. Very cold out there. Make sure to dress warm. No doubt about that. And Vin, Onaping Huskies for sure. Yes, that's definitely Randy would have covered the Onaping Huskies and will continue to do that. TSN Radio, Joe Bowen. Oh, it's 1050. It's not 590. Well, thank you. And that's why you guys are here, to keep me honest and telling the truth. Speaking of that, pretty much our headline of the day, Dominic Giroux stepping down as CEO of HSN. I listened. I just got off the listening to CBC interview. It was Jonathan Pinto interviewing Dominic Giroux, and I was like, oh, here we go. Watered down interview. Not really going to ask him the tough questions. However, and kudos to Jonathan, who's the host of, is it Points North in the afternoon? Up North, sorry. The host of Up North in the afternoon, Jonathan Pinto, he's filling in for Marcus Schwabe this morning. And so on the way in, you don't have much choice, and I don't really want to listen to a podcast or whatever in my earbuds, and I don't have a new enough car that has the technology for Bluetooth and all that. So anyways, so I listen to the radio, and a lot of times I'm listening to CBC just to keep up on top and listen to CBC because I like to listen to all different news sources. Anyways, they said they're going to be interviewing Dominic Giroux, which I knew. CTV interviewed him yesterday, and that was Brendan Connor interviewed him, and hopefully we'll have a little piece of that. And Brendan Connor, to his credit as well, said, I only have a minute left, and hopefully we'll share that for you. I only have a minute left, but I want to ask you the tough question. Hey, he asked him about Laurentian, right? And I was like, whoa, a little bit taken back by that. I'm not used to our local reporters asking questions, and I'm wondering if that's why Marcus Schwabe didn't show up for work. I don't know. I don't know. Marcus is a great guy. I have no idea. This is my conspiratorial mind. Like, he knew he'd be interviewing Dominic Giroux, didn't want to ask him these hard questions. And, but Jonathan didn't hold back, man. He was like, now I got to ask you about Laurentian University. And, he right off the hop, he was going to ask him more about stepping down from CEO of the hospital after he got Laurentian out of the way. And I was like, Jonathan, man, that's like really good. Now, you won't make a friend with Dominic. You won't, whatever. He won't be in town anyways anymore because he's moving to Ottawa. He's going to head up one of the the only French language training hospitals in Ontario. And so he'll be heading that hospital up. Couldn't pass it down. His family lives there. His child is going to school there. His parents, he's an only child. Parents are in their 80s, so he's looking after them or needing to be closer to them, sorry. So it sounded like to me it was just basically, it just makes sense for him. But it's the only time he really talked about Laurentian was when he already knew he had another position to go to, which I thought was interesting. He already knew he had another job lined up. Not that he'd have a hard time getting a job anyways. It just seems like he's earmarked for, people looking out for him, going to make sure he's got jobs. He just seems like that kind of guy to me anyways. So I was very impressed with Jonathan Pinto's reporting. Really thankful for Brendan Connor to ask the question. So let's just, without further ado, let's just show you that here. And you can come up with your own conclusions. There you go. Where is it? Hey, where did it go? It's here. It's there. It's everywhere. Okay, here you go.
Specifically, sorry, let me ask you quickly. I only have about a minute left, and I did want to ask you, when I see you in the coffee shop, I always tell you I applaud you for the access you give us and that you answer the questions. Talk to me about your legacy overall as an administrator here in Sudbury, because there's still a lot of people who put part of the blame for Laurentian University's problems at your feet when you were president. Do you think on that as you leave Sudbury?
Well, I'm proud of what was accomplished at Laurentian when I was president. We achieved record rate rankings, record enrollment, record fundraising. There's no doubt that what's unfolded over the last few years with the CCA process was very unfortunate and not necessary. But during my presidency, revenues increased by 4% per year. And if Laurentian's revenues had continued to increase by 4% per year after my departure, it would have generated $96 million more, not counting the current fiscal year.
All right. Well, I had to ask that question. I appreciate your candor, and thanks again for joining us tonight. Good luck in your new endeavors.
Thank you very much.
I've been speaking with Dominic Giroux, the outgoing CEO of Health Sciences North in Sudbury. He is leaving in June for a new post at a hospital in Ottawa.
Yeah, so look at that. I just was very impressed with Brandon being able to ask the tough questions there. A tough question, but I thought it was interesting. He says, whenever I run into you in the coffee shop. So Dominic has a good relationship with a lot of the reporters, and I noticed when he's speaking with Jonathan Pinto on his interview this morning on CBC, he said, oh, I haven't had the opportunity to meet you yet, kind of thing, meaning he probably knows a lot of the media people in town, and maybe that's why he hasn't really been held to account on his dealings at Laurentian University. Jonathan said he was not named in LISIC's report, the Auditor General of Ontario's report of Laurentian University. He wasn't, but his title was, and we all can fill in the blanks, that he was the president during that tenure. And we also know during the report that he was told by the lawyers that there was this channel that they could go down, this road of insolvency, which is usually only there for corporations, not for publicly funded educational institutions, and that they figured they might as well go through this loophole because they can, so they can ramp up all the capital projects they want, get a huge line of credit, employ all their friends with high salaries, with jobs you can't even define, or the titles were ambiguous, and just let it go bankrupt, and then just start fresh again. Now you have all these new buildings, you'll have a fresh start, and possibly even a stronger French-speaking aspect of the university if you start over again, because there's been a huge push for a French-only university in Ontario, and I think there has been factions that foresaw Laurentian possibly becoming that, or at least a huge part of that. So there's a lot of agendas going on behind the scenes. But you said in that interview he said we don't think they needed to go to take that route. But in the report it was told that he was briefed by lawyers that that's the route that he should take, and that's pretty much by their actions. That's what happened. So anyways, I wonder if I don't think so, right? We know people aren't really held to account in those types of positions, but at least verbally he was, did we dare even ask him? And it was done. So they at least asked him. I guess that's the only accountability he's going to have, to just basically say he's just accepted a new job. He's done a great job at Laurentian. He did a great job at the hospital. Now he's moving on to do another great job in Ottawa. So thanks for your service, Dominic, here in the city. We really appreciate all the things you've done for us and for our city. Thanks for your service. We really appreciate that. And on behalf of myself and everybody in the city, thank you for doing a great job. Diane, good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Joyeux vendredi. For sure. Good morning. Denise, thanks for being with us today. Miles says he answered like a liberal, saying he had record profits when he started the process of bankruptcy before he left. Okay, well, I can definitely agree on that one. That's what everything was great. There's no accountability whatsoever. He didn't say, well, I could have done a better job. Maybe I looked at things, maybe things could have been done differently. Nope, he did great. He's doing excellent. Doing great now, did great there. It was basically afterwards. And Jonathan Pinto, to his credit, said, now some in the community feels like, are you just throwing Robert Hache just a scapegoat? And some felt you're just kind of throwing him under the bus. And basically by his words, he basically said that. He said, well, when I was there, it was great. And they didn't need to go into bankruptcy. So with that, let's just maybe get a little bit of more details. Sudbury.com. I know Heidi Ulrichsen has done a fantabulous job reporting, and then here she is again, reporting on it. I don't think Dominic would ever grant her an interview for some reason. I'm pretty sure why. But yeah, I just wanted to go back, but I guess it's not going to work. Okay, so I did click on that story. We are going to go back here. We're going to go back here because I'm not sure what happened. And we're going to do this. And Sudbury.com, basically it's their story of the day, leading with it. President and Chief Executive Officer, Health Sciences North, and Health Sciences North Research Institute. So there's two separate entities there because it's a teaching hospital. Will be stepping down from his position in June. Dominic Giroux has accepted a new role as president and CEO of Hôpital Montfort, Ontario's French language academic health sciences center based in Ottawa. His last day in office will be June the 15th. Said in a news release from HSN Thursday. The announcement comes in the midst of widespread criticism of Giroux related to his previous role at Laurentian University. Ontario NDP health critic Frances Jelena told Sudbury.com in November she had received numerous complaints about Giroux continuing with his role at HSN from physicians and other healthcare professionals. Much of the criticism of Giroux goes back to the Ontario Auditor General's report on the financial difficulties surrounding Laurentian University as it was released last November. And we haven't heard anything from Dominic pretty much until now on the subject. And it was pretty much, like we said, kind of like politician. He should really get into politics is what I'm thinking. I think maybe that is where he might be headed later. And speaking of that, let's switch gears for a bit. Paul V fulfills his campaign promise and drops his salary to a meager $143,000 a year. I'm not sure what he's going to do to pay the bills with a salary that low, but we're hoping the best. Fulfilling a campaign promise, Mayor Paul Lefebvre has forfeited $36,000, basically a minimum wage full-time job annually, in pay to reduce his 2023 salary to only $143,000. The pay reduction was made official during this week's City Council meeting, at which Lefebvre introduced a successful motion to drop the mayor's base remuneration, effective February 21st. He explained the move as a means of fulfilling a campaign promise, the details of which were made public leading up to the October 24th election. At the time, he joined a few other mayoral candidates in pledging a salary reduction. Obviously, that's what people want to hear, right? It was a great promise, and he's come good on it. Wouldn't be really good optics if he didn't. So the compensation package now in place for the City of Greater Sudbury's mayor is far and above that of any northern community. I'll read that again. The compensation package now in place for the City of Greater Sudbury mayor is far and above that of any northern community. I would say, and I was going to go on to say this, but they also said, and many communities across Ontario. He said at the time, having said that, I also believe that there should be a fair compensation for the position to encourage all citizens from all walks of life to participate in the democratic process. There are people very close to me, actually, who believe that politicians should be paid even more than they're paid now. And my stance was, I think politicians should be volunteer. Totally opposite ends of the spectrum. So I guess, because if you're just going to get people who are after the money aspect of politics, you can weed them out by making it volunteer. Which, was it Vic Fideli who was mayor of North Bay and did not take a paycheck because he felt he had enough money already, and so he did not even take a paycheck? I believe that was who it was. It was the mayor of North Bay anyways. And I do believe if you were to look at Paul Lefebvre's pension from federal politics, it's probably even better than a teacher's pension, I'm assuming. And one that he would also be in a position to say, you know what, I could save Sudbury money. And you would then at least know, to some extent, this is a little, I guess, in that direction of just dropping it, the equivalent of a full-time minimum wage job, $36,000 a year, off of his pay. So now he's getting in the range of 150 a year. Plus, though, there's other perks, right? Which were not mentioned. There's all kinds of this is paid, that's paid. You get so much this allowance, that allowance. So it's in and around 175-ish, I think, at the end of the day, with perks included. And then you're going to get a pension after this as well. So you're going to get 2 pensions. You're going to get the federal pension. You're going to get the municipal pension. Not bad. Looks like a pretty young guy. He might be just a little bit over my age or whatever. I still don't even know what I want to do when I grow up. The show is volunteer each and every day. I think that tells you a little bit of something, that it's volunteer. Hopefully no strings attached to what I'm saying. So you can at least know that. I'm here to kind of try and shed light on things, what I think a journalist or someone in this industry should be doing. So I would hope that would tell you something. And again, in light of a politician, is same thing, right? If you felt you were already making enough money, it would be a really great gesture to just say, to heck with my whole salary. I'm volunteering this position. That should at least show you every decision I make or whatever. And even though it's not, there could be a lot of behind the doors, deals being made, and, friends of big corporations, giving perks and things. So it's not just a salary that you get when you're in a position like that. There's all kinds of perks. So even if it was, I'm only going to work for, volunteer and be your mayor, it still doesn't mean that there's all kinds of perks coming from all areas around. More officials in government should lower their wages. Sure, they don't need any more than anyone else. And that's true. One of the things when I was with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, we would lobby the government because government workers were paid a lot more than than private sector workers. They would get their raises every year and whatever, and it's on the taxpayer's dime. Whereas public sector was, always watching their money because they have to be profitable, right? So we're always explaining the difference to business owners, like, oh, holy crap, like we really need to put something in place because government workers' wages are just way disproportionate to the private sector. And it's something that needs to be looked at. So Clara says, so true. They should be volunteers. Might be more honest. Okay. Looks like some of you are agreeing with me. His federal pension is much better than 143K. Really? See, I didn't even expect to really be going on a bit of a rant here. So I didn't look into what an MP's pension is. But if it's wow, why is it so high? What is that even? Why are we, what? Anyways, that's crazy. Why does someone need $143,000 pension every year? What? Yeah. Okay. So Vin says, for the most part, they're just delegators. Skilled manual laborers are lucky to clear 100,000 annual. Yeah, and lucky is the capitalized word there. Definitely, if you're a laborer making more than $100,000 a year, yeah, you count yourself lucky for sure. I believe this is Alan. And he says, it's virtue signaling, vote buying. I don't trust it. Okay. Oh, yeah, for just lowering the amount. I knew Natalie would be chiming in here. For my information, for our information, he left the Liberal Party 5 months shy of qualifying for his pension. Oh, my. Well, there you go. So he needs a pension then. So that's good. He'll at least have one from the city. Well, that's interesting. Why would you do that? 5 months. Now, I know he said family issues and whatever, but that's interesting. It doesn't make sense in a way for someone to make that decision. If you're just thinking, okay, what's good for me and my family? So we don't have that information. Maybe we'll ask him one day, why did you leave 5 months short of getting your pension from the federal government? You only had to kind of just stick around for 5 months more. That just to me raises questions, right? I think just every one of us, if you had an opportunity to stick around your job for 5 months more, knowing you were going to get a lifetime pension of more than $143,000, according to Miles, a year, you wouldn't think you would just kind of stick it out a little bit longer? I don't know. That to me, I just have a question. I'm not judging. It's a question, right? And I think, it'd be nice to know one day, unless it's not too private. But if you're in the public, you're in the public, and you're kind of accountable to public scrutiny or just people's questions, I would hope. Something in the news here we haven't really covered. Vin's got one last comment, and then Miles. There you go. Your next live interview. Yeah. Well, one day for sure. Yeah, I have. I've met Paul. He's a great guy. I don't see a problem with speaking with him. But again, as a journalist or someone who would like to consider themselves in the journalist industry, I'm just a talking head in some ways. I'm a person with an opinion who likes to unpack the news and ask questions. I'm not on the front lines getting the stories and whatever. I guess to some degree know that we have journalists out there who are doing that, and we just shine more light and unpack what they've already done. And I would like to think that they're doing their job already, and I do. Like I said this morning, I really think Brandon on CTV did a great job with Dominic's interview. Jonathan filling in for Marcus on the Morning North CBC radio show, great job, and that's for CBC. And then Heidi Ulrichsen has done a fabulous job covering the whole Laurentian debacle. And again, right? So this isn't, I'm not a critic of journalists per se, unless there's questions that I have that anyone would have. And I think that's what journalism is to be there to be a watchdog. But thank you very much, Natalie, for letting me know. That's something I was not aware of. I really appreciate that. So Miles says there's plenty of hourly workers, the city, who broke the $100,000 mark with overtime hours. Oh, interesting. Natalie also says, read between the lines, but also he's a lawyer and owns commercial property. I don't think he's too worried about the pension part. Oh, you are right too. He's a successful lawyer, successful businessman for sure. It's not all about the pension. But again, that's what I believe it was Vic Fideli in North Bay, who was in that same position and worked the job without a salary per se, right? Because he already has other income streams coming in. Anyways, optics still there. He cut the salary, which is great. We really appreciate that. And I'm just kind of taking it a little bit further, thinking out loud of what I think I'm hearing from other Sudburyans as well along the way. They were on the sunshine list for sure. Yes, those that Miles talking about the Sudbury employees. Heidi is also receiving a journalistic award for her coverage of LU scandal, and she deserves it. I believe every day when I was reading her during the whole thing, you can tell she was not pandering to anybody. She was actually asking the hard questions and doing journalism the way journalism should be done. And I'm really glad she's getting an award for that. She definitely deserves it. Now, something, and it's also on Sudbury.com this morning, we haven't really covered very much on this show. The dispute over Crown. Okay, Miles, you get the last word here. As of 2021, federal MP pension were $147,000 per year. Oh my. Well, even if our mayor resigned or no longer was an MP 5 years shy of getting that, qualifying for that, that is really high, regardless. Whoever's getting that pension. And that's what my argument was in the first place, of politicians being paid just too much. Like, I don't think it's hard to common sense to tell you, like, back in the day, teachers, if you retired, like, I don't know, in the last 10 years, it's changed now, but teachers are getting take home over $75,000 a year pension take home. That's after deductions and stuff like that. I think that's way too, that's just, whoa. Most people don't make that working. I don't know. And we've all known for years that teachers have one of the best pensions out there. It's changed now. It's not the same, but any of the people that I know who've retired recently and have, before the changes, they're taking home about $75,000 a year take home. So anyways, I thought that, so this is double that. If you're a politician, federal politician, MP, 150 G's a year. I don't know if that's take home or not. I just know the teachers are. So again, this dispute's been going on. Dispute over Crown revenues, expenses at forefront of treaty annuities trial. So this has been going on for quite some time, and for some reason I just never included it. And again, it's just because I felt I didn't really know too much about it, but they do a good job of explaining it here. Lawyers for the federal and provincial governments have been attempting to poke holes in the testimony of economist David Hutchings during the third stage of the Robinson Superior Treaty Annuities case, taking place this week in a makeshift courtroom at the University of Sudbury. A report by Hutchings on the real value of resource development, more specifically, the Net Crown Resource-Based Revenue, NCRR, which includes the revenues from mining, forestry, transportation, hydroelectric, and land use sales in Robinson Superior Territory, was cross-examined by lawyers for Ontario and Canada who are disputing some of the aspects of the report. Hutchings estimates that the normal NCRR in Robinson Superior Treaty Territory is almost 1.1 billion. That dollar figure is worlds away from the NCRR provided by economists that testifies on behalf of the Crown, a loss of 1.619 billion. The Ontario government's experts have also argued in court that the government's colonialization expenditures, everything from healthcare to railways and roads, are actually investments in Indigenous communities, with the amount spent exceeding revenue from natural resources in the treaty territory by nearly $8 billion. After 170 years of virtually unchanged payments, Ontario says Robinson Superior Treaty beneficiaries are owed just $35 million, if anything at all. So for more on that story, visit Sudbury.com and read more about that. That is definitely going to be worth revisiting and looking at. So basically the argument, this treaty has been in place for 170 years, and there was supposed to be a monetary amount paid to Indigenous people for the use of their lands when it's being used for commercial purposes like mining, forestry, things like that. Now, the government is saying, though, because there's and this is true in business in general, so this isn't a cut and dry case, there are costs involved in these initiatives as well. And so if you want to be part of the revenues, you also have to be, and revenue is profit after expenses. So you can't just look at the overall money that's brought in. You have to look at, well, there's money that's put out as well for these. There's expenditures. And so what you're left with at the end of the day is your profits, and then you're paid on the profits. So this is complicated stuff. This is not easy. However, if you just open the books and looked at the facts, you could come up with a number. And I think this is where they're on their way to that, at least, which is great. Hopefully they're on their way to getting rightfully compensated for the use of land. If a treaty was made, you gotta come good on it. Ontario Police Strategy investigated 65 human trafficking cases in December 2021. A group of 21 police services across Ontario has conducted 65 human trafficking investigations, helped 61 victims, and charged 28 perpetrators since December 2021. So that's a year and a bit. That's a huge issue. We talked about human trafficking on the show before. It's not only a local issue, obviously. It's a global issue. And I remember hearing the interview with the officer that was involved in these investigations, saying that signs to look for are people that you go to talk to and then someone else interferes and answers questions for them. They may not be, so that's one thing. They may not be properly dressed for the conditions that they're in. They may look malnourished. There could be signs of abuse in some ways. Just different signs. If someone's kind of taking someone around and they're under someone else's control and they don't want someone to kind of acknowledge that. But how do you know the difference between two people that are just with each other and someone's on? Because a lot of times drugs are involved here as well, right? So someone will be on something and you're not sure whether this is part of trafficking, human trafficking, or it's just somebody under the influence in public with somebody else. Claire chiming in on, I believe, our last conversation about pensions. Old age don't get you more than $20,000 per year. Would love to see them survive on this. Well, that's true, and that's exactly where we're coming from with. There's a disproportionate, there's people that are disproportionately treated better than others in our society, and that definitely needs to be looked at. I always believe that a politician or anyone, there's this Undercover Boss show that's out there. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a reality show where the boss of the company is actually disguised as just a regular worker in various positions in their own company. And they're undercover and they're just working alongside someone else, and they'll bring up, "Hey, what do you think of the CEO? What do you think of the owner?" And they'll hear the real story because the person thinks they're just talking to an average Joe who's just hired. They're not talking to the CEO. So they hear the real deal of what's really going on. Not only that, they also get a chance to experience what it's like, the conditions of work, because they're actually doing the job. And at the end of the day, a lot of the owners, they develop this kinship with their employees that they've never had before. And then the big reveal is at the end, and they help out the worker with whatever, they're going through, whatever they revealed in the show of their hardships. They got a lot of debt, or they have children with special needs or whatever's. And then the boss will give them whatever to help them out. But I don't believe I've ever seen a show where they haven't said, "I did not know how hard it was to do these jobs and how underappreciated my employees were." And they made changes, and now they know how to run their company better because they know what goes into the day-to-day. And I believe there needs to be more of that with our leaders. They need to have their feet on the ground. They just shouldn't be in bubbles and disassociated with what's going on the ground. And they need to be rolling up their sleeves and at least experiencing it a little bit. So I thought, why wouldn't it be where a leader actually has to do one day a week or even one day a month doing the tasks of the people below them and actually really do it, like not get away with it. This is your one day a month. You have to do the tasks of this person, and it's you that's doing the job, and you're accountable for what you're doing, and really get a grasp of what people, because politicians a lot of time talk about people. So that's who they're representing. But do they really know who they're representing? Do they really know who Canadians really are when they're saying Canadians? I don't know. I don't really think so. With that, I have a video I wanted to share. But first of all, I want to let everyone know that the Renee Sweeney trial has started. It's a huge deal. A lot of information is starting to be revealed on it. I want to come on Monday and dedicate a lot of the show to the trial, what's being uncovered so far. Undercover politician, LOL. Yeah, it's a good one, Miles. Exactly. That would be funny. That would be a great reality show. And it would be good for the politicians too, because if they really were worth their weight, it would be something that would help them get elected, right? If they really were good with just life skills and relating with people by, following them around with a camera and seeing. Let's see here. Claire's saying, good show. Should be more of them. Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated. So yeah, speaking of good show, we're going to have more on Renee Sweeney, the trial. There's all kinds of information coming out. And I know Stephen Wright, who is accused of the murder, said he was in the store when the murder happened, or at least he was there that morning. His fingerprints were found in blood. His DNA was found under her nails, but he said it wasn't him that did the murder. It was someone else, and he just arrived after she was murdered. And so anyways, this is, there's lots of stuff to talk about here. I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about a little bit more before we get into the story. But speaking of politicians, and since we're still on the subject, I just thought I have a little bit of an interesting video here that I already went on, and I don't know, did I close it by accident? I hope not. And I brought it over. And maybe I did close it. Yeah, I might have closed it. No, that's just an advertisement, everyone. Oh, here it is. Yeah, here we go. So we'll be back right after this.
And the comment question for the episode is this. If the roles were reversed and the Conservatives were the ones who benefited from Chinese election interference, how would the Liberals respond? Let me know, and let's get into it. So last Friday, just as the Trudeau Liberals were able to wash their hands from the Emergencies Act report, this came from the Globe and Mail. CSIS documents reveal Chinese strategy to influence Canada's 2021 election. China employed a sophisticated strategy to disrupt Canada's democracy in the 2021 federal election campaign as Chinese diplomats and their proxies backed the re-election of Justin Trudeau's Liberals and worked to defeat conservative politicians considered to be unfriendly to Beijing. Most important, the intelligence reports show that Beijing was determined that the Conservatives did not win. China employed disinformation campaigns and proxies connected to Chinese-Canadian organizations in Vancouver and the GTA, which have large mainland Chinese immigrant communities, to voice opposition to the Conservatives and favor the Trudeau Liberals. However, the Security and Intelligence Threats to Elections Task Force set up by the Trudeau government to monitor threats to federal elections never issued any public warnings about foreign interference during the 2019 or 2021 federal campaigns. Now, isn't that convenient, guys? The exact result that the Communist Party of China wanted, a liberal minority government, is exactly what Canadians got. And on top of that, the task force that Justin Trudeau set up himself to monitor these elections found no interference, despite the fact that CSIS found election interference. Now, without the bravery and courage of the CSIS officer who leaked these documents to the Globe and Mail, we would never know the extent to which the Chinese Communist Party interfered in the 2021 federal election. Now, most of you watching this right now would probably think that the normal response would be to try and hold the Chinese communists responsible for this. But not to Justin Trudeau. To Justin Trudeau, the person who really needs to be held responsible for all of this is the CSIS whistleblower. Just watch this clip.
You're very reassuring on the results of elections, Mr. Trudeau. But what are you saying? What do you have to say about the fact that people at CSIS are leaking secret documents? Isn't there some discomfort within those agencies regarding China? It's certainly a sign that security within CSIS needs to be reviewed, and I'm expecting CSIS to take the issue very seriously.
For months now, Trudeau has been telling Canadians that he has no information and has never been briefed on any candidates in the 2019 or 21 federal election receiving money from China. Remember when he said this back in November?
But let me be clear. I do not have any information, nor have I been briefed, on any federal candidates receiving any money from China.
Well, the Globe and Mail reported on Friday that the Globe had reported that the Prime Minister received a national security briefing last fall in which he was told that China's consulate in Toronto had targeted 11 candidates in the 2019 federal election. Let's be honest, guys, things are not looking so good for Justin Trudeau these days. Over 67% of Canadians think the country's headed in the wrong direction. His polling numbers in Ontario are not great, and take a look at these polling numbers in Quebec. In Quebec, Liberal support has dropped 5 points compared to last month. Well, Justin Trudeau is doing his town hall tour of Canada to try and talk with Canadians face to face and get a sense of the issues that are important to them. And given these numbers, you would think that there would be quite a lot of unhappy Canadians.
Yeah, I just wanted to stop it there. We don't have any more time. We're over time. But at the same time, he goes on now to talk about these kind of made up town hall meetings where they're given the questions to ask, kind of like when Joe Biden was running for president. They gave him the question. They were just supporters that were asking. They didn't have anyone else in there. And then he shows how the difference between when he's in a town hall meeting, when everyone's supporting him, asking him, what's your favorite ice cream, as opposed to real questions about what's going on in the country. You can catch this. It's Harrison Faulkner. He has a podcast called Ratioed. It's part of True North, TNC.news, alternative news outlet. His name's Harrison Faulkner. You should check him out. He's got a lot of really great stuff. Thanks for being with us today, everyone. Have a great weekend. Hopefully, you can enjoy your weekend. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. We'll be back, same time, same place, on Monday. Stay safe, everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.